What's up, everybody? It's been such a long time. Been waiting to do this for a long time now. Been waiting for number one to bring the Jigsaw back, the Jigsaw's Judgment. This is the final judgment, right? We rebranded this a little bit called the Final Judgment. This is going to be the Final Judgment with your host right here, Tony Jigsaw Cutillo. As always, give me a follow at TCutillo23. And as always, hit that smash button, hit the subscribe button at Heat Ratio Sports, all different things going on. You can see me Monday to Friday, absolutely, during the week on Win Daily Sports, Sundays on Sirius Satellite Radio, amongst other things. But tonight, what's up, Matt? Already checking in. Matt, what's up? How you doing, buddy? And we know what this is all about, right? We know I'm excited. You see the smile on my face. I'm already excited over this trade, and I love every single minute of it. You know, this was a long time coming. Absolutely long time coming. Adam checking in. I'm so glad Simmons is gone. Harden is here. Let's go Sixers. I think that's the sentiment of every Philadelphia 76ers fan. And I just want to hear what everybody else has to say. I want to hear the instant reaction, right? Because I could not wait for this day to come. I've been saying it was going to come. I've been waiting for it to come. I never wanted to draft Ben Simmons. I hated the pick. I couldn't stand the player. I hated the person. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm giving you every single transparent thought in Jigsaw's mind. Okay? I knew from day one Ben Simmons would not fit in Philadelphia. He's not a Philadelphia kind of guy. He is an entitled athlete who's been given everything that he's ever wanted. And again, even though it benefits us, he was given the keys again to exit his way out, even after he signed an extension and a deal. So when you think about that, he still got what he wanted. But guess what? I don't care. I was so happy. Listen, I would have drove him to Brooklyn myself. Whatever was possible. If there was an option to send him to Sacramento, I would have sent him to Sacramento. If there was an option to send him to Houston, I would have sent him to Houston. I would have been to Uber to the airport. I would have got on a plane. I would have read him his magazine. I would have fed him his dinner. I don't give a shit. If it meant giving Ben Simmons out of Philadelphia, that's what I wanted. Now, again, you can sit there, Stephen A., I love Stephen A. Stephen A. is one of my favorite people in sports media. But I professionally disagree with how this, in Stephen A's mind, is going to be a bad move for Philadelphia. We will rule the day when Ben Simmons is traded to Brooklyn. Listen, this is what we have to realize as a fan base. And I think most of you guys have already known this, that Ben Simmons was never, ever, ever going to play in a Sixers uniform again. Said that on Heat Ratio Live, Tuesday nights at Steam Pub. Give them a follow as well. Listen, if you're watching on Twitter, okay, obviously there is no more Periscope. If you're watching on Twitter right now, go to youtube.com, type in Heat Ratio Sports, hit the smash button on the like, hit the subscribe button, and join this right here and give me your comments. But we said this, he was never going to don the Philadelphia uniform again. The City Edition was never going to make its way to Ben Simmons. So no matter what we got was going to be better than what we have. And Daryl Morey, listen, hats off. And again, you see the Fuse Barbershop. Shout out Nick Tosti. As always, go get your haircut, as always, in Newtown, Pennsylvania. But here's the funny part. Daryl Morey, who I called a fraud, who I thought was basically saying we're going to waste the most important year of Joel Embiid's career, possibly this 2-year window now, and we're going to get to that with James Harden. We were going to waste it without getting James Harden. We were going to waste it while he was doing everything he could, which we knew wasn't enough, just because he wanted to save his pride. But no, Daryl Morey was smart. He was baiting us because this is what I've been saying all day. The Philadelphia 76ers and Daryl Morey played this card correctly. And the reason why is in today's NBA, the player holds all the keys. The player holds everything. So guess what? James Harden just told them straight out, I am not signing the extension. I will not be here next year. So guess what? I'm done playing for you guys. I'm out. So they knew right there, and Daryl Morey knew this. You'd think that somewhere some way Daryl Morey was not having a connection with James Harden. They go back years. They have a relationship. They know what each other's thinking. They already know. So that was the best part, that you were able to make this deal without including Matisse Thybulle and Tyrese Maxey. That's huge to me. That is absolutely huge. I know a lot of people are worried about Andre Drummond. Come on, man. Listen, I love you, Andre. Hell of a player as a backup. But guess what? Number one, Andre was going in a multi-year contract after this year. The Sixers were not going to be able to hold him here. And number two, you can find a backup center in the trade market, or in the buyout market, I should say. So at the end of the day, Andre checking in. What's up, Andre? Boom, this trade was brewing since Houston. Absolutely. Andre knows Half Court Heat will be live for the first game of James Harden afterward for the post game. So check out us for that. Matt checking in as Harden was tired of breathing inside to the locker room. Listen, man, Millsap is decent. Matt, I agree with the Millsap thing. People are just completely discounting Paul Millsap. They're just completely discounting the Paul Millsap figure. Okay, he's not a throw-in. Listen, I know he's 37 years old. I get it, but he can still ball a little bit. If you can get Millsap for 7 to 10 minutes, what the hell? Why not? This is what we have to look at. We have to look at everything we got here. Adam says Sixers want to trade. Well, here's the thing, Adam. I'm not going to say they want to trade yet because we absolutely don't know, right? Whoever wins a ring, if one of these teams win a ring, that's who wins the championship. Right now, you have a 2-year window. Okay, James Harden signed the extension already for the 1 year. He will be here for the rest of this year and next year as well. And then you can figure it out after that. So you have a window of this year and next year, and this is wide open. This is your title time. This is what I was screaming to the heavens for them to do when I said trade Ben Simmons for Paul George, trade Ben Simmons for Kawhi Leonard. 3 years ago when the window was there. Okay, that's why I said you go for the now. You have something special right now. Don't lose sight of it. Okay, you could say we're impatient in Philadelphia all you want, but we also know basketball. We know football. We know hockey. We know baseball. We know our sports. We're the most highly educated fan base in America. Mark my words. So we know and we see what is happening with this team. It's something special with their Cameroon superstar. It's something special of what's brewing with Joel Embiid. And now you finally get him a piece. Somebody else. And again, I said this before, I'll say it again. Somebody else to create their own shot since Jimmy Butler. That's why we miss Jimmy Butler so much, because it was another option, because Ben, you knew he wasn't going to shoot. It was Joe or nothing because Tobias is too soft. So it had to be Joel. And then you had Jimmy. So it was Joel to Jimmy. Now it's Joel to James. This is what we needed. What's up, Vinny? Checking in Sixers. You know what? I was hoping for the Patty Mills. I really was. I thought that would have been a great, it gives you that extra shooter now, because you're losing Seth Curry, and now you're going to have to start Matisse. But it's not terrible. Danny Green finally comes off the bench where we need him to come off the bench and give you maybe those 10 to 12 minutes where he could possibly hit the 3 or 4 threes. Danny Green is back in the championship sniper role. Remember that. I'm not a big Danny Green fan, but now you put him back where he belongs. You put him back into a sequence where he can knock down shots and not have to run the floor for 20 minutes a game. This is what this trade has done, right? This is what this trade has done. The pick and roll between Harden and Embiid, is anybody ever going to be able to stop it? Like, seriously, it's unbelievable. Andre checking in said Patty Mills wanted to come here as well, but he knew he was playing tonight, so he kept things under wraps and stayed with KD and Kyrie. So here's the thing. When does Ben play his first game? That's going to be interesting. I can't wait. Honestly, I can't wait. And just imagine when, Philly plays Brooklyn. I think it's March 11th, March 10th. Look out for that game. That's going to be interesting to see if Ben actually plays. Vinny says, please no more Danny Green. Listen, Vinny, I agree with you, but I still think Danny Green, The reason why is because he was trying to do too much. And that was the problem with this team. You had players trying to do too much. We talked about this before. Seth Curry, I love Seth Curry. He was exposed, playing way too many minutes. What happened? Played too many minutes, started to get a lot of injuries, started to get nagging injuries because he's not built to play that much. We were exposing guys who were role players and putting them in the starting positions, and it wasn't working. Danny Green should never be a starter. Seth Curry should never be a starter. Matisse Thybulle is a starter. Matisse is a starter because of his defensive capabilities. Andre says Matisse is starting now. Yes, and he worked for the spot. It will be perfect because they will need defense to start the game. We all know Harden and Green will be a liability on defense. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why this trade is so key, because not only does it catapult Matisse in the starting lineup, but now it allows you to have shooters come off the bench. I fully believe that. I fully believe that. Joey, oh, what's up, Joe? He says, I hope Thybulle doesn't try to give Harden one of his Yo, man, I love Joe. Joe is the best. The comedy is awesome. I love it because you're right. Thybulle, listen, don't shoot, Matisse. Just keep driving to the hole and keep playing the defense. So yes, stay away from James. We need James to be knocking down them damn shots. That's for damn sure. We need James to be knocking down them shots. So yeah, listen, I'll get to all the comments here. Simmons was trash. He won't ever work on his game and will be done in the league in a few years. That, you know what, Adam, that's interesting because a lot of people think that this is one of those big time deals where all of a sudden you're going to see a different player in Ben. I highly disagree. I think Ben is who he is. He will continue to be who he is. And at the end of the day, he's never going to be good enough. He needs to be a player here. Okay. Right. I say this all the time because I'm a huge wrestling guy. When you hear Roman Reigns and the infamous Roman Reigns and John Cena promo where John Cena cuts and says, listen, you're not the guy, you're just a guy, right? Ben Simmons was never going to be the guy. Joel Embiid is the guy. Ben Simmons needs to be a guy. So yes, maybe he went in a great spot, but guess what? I don't care. I don't care if he goes and he does well. I don't care if he goes and all of a sudden he's miraculously healed. I don't care because at the end of the day, the Philadelphia 76ers got better. They got a piece they sorely missed. Harden is going to make Matisse a better offensive player, which is a good thing. Vinny, you're absolutely right. Spacing on the floor, isolation with James Harden. Listen, here's the thing. Think about it right now. Joel down in the box, James Harden up at the top, isolating down the lane, the dish off to Matisse, the dish off to whether it be Danny Green, the dish off to Tobias. As long as Tobias doesn't come up short, there's going to be a lot of good offensive plays that are going to be open for other players on this team. That's going to be created by the isolation of James Harden. That's another thing people are not looking. Al says shooters will now shoot and they won't have to handle the ball so much. Catch and shoot is much easier, and our 3-point percentage now should go up. 100% absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Listen, when I went to work this morning and I was listening on the radio and I was hearing people call in saying, Matisse Thybulle was going to be a deal breaker. Andre Drummond was going to be a deal breaker. I don't want to trade off first round. Listen, I was willing to, I don't care what anybody says, I was willing to give up Matisse. If it took Matisse to get Harden here, I was willing to do it. Okay, I really was, because my only untouchable piece was Tyrese Maxey. I'm glad we were able to keep Matisse, but at the end of the day, I was willing to part with Matisse if that meant bringing James Harden here. And Daryl Morey did a fantastic job. Listen, I like Seth, but a fantastic job to be able to keep those young guys at bay and bring exactly who he wanted here, who is a difference maker. Now, listen, a lot of this, I'm curious to see what you guys think, man. A lot of this Doc Rivers. How is he going to right the ship here? There's been a lot of talk about people criticizing Doc Rivers' fundamental substitutions, right? His rotations, how long players play, how much they play with the subs, how much the 7th and 8th guys off the bench play in big moments. I mean, Phoenix, that was a 17-point lead. I'm not going to say it was all Doc, but some of that had to do with Doc. We've all sat there and questioned at nauseum, Doc, what are you doing? You listen, you got to have somebody out there, right? You got to have somebody out there. Well, right now, you have four guys. You have Tyrese Maxey, you have Matisse Thybulle, or you have Tyrese Maxey, you have Tobias Harris, you have James Harden, and Joel Embiid. You have four offensive plugs. Please, Doc, if you're listening, don't bench all four of them at one time and give me the Isaiah Joe, Furkan Korkmaz, at Danny Green. Listen, you got to be very, very cautious. Very, very cautious. And I think I definitely think he will be able to do that. Dan, what's up, Dan? Checking in, Dan Old School Green. As always, one of the fixtures here at Heat Ratio Sports. Curious your thoughts on buyout options at center and point guard. Listen, I mean, one of the guys at center, a lot of people are talking about Tristan Thompson, a guy that possibly will be bought out. Again, Vinny just beat me to it. Buyout market, Eric Gordon. Dennis Schroeder's another name. I would love either one of those guys, because it's a shooter off the bench. It's somebody to come off the bench and knock down a couple threes. I personally really like Eric Gordon. I think Eric Gordon has the ability to get hot at the right moment to knock down 3 or 4 shots, whenever he can do. So listen, that's one of the biggest things. I mean, you are getting you're getting a superstar to go along, a real superstar that we sorely miss. Sorely miss some Jimmy buckets. Al says Harden, Harris, Maxey, Joel, one of those players. Yes, Al, exactly. I mean, I know me and you disagree on some things, but I think me and you could definitely agree on that one of those guys needs to be out on the court. They have to be. Maxey, we need a backup point guard, fellas. That's what we need. Like we need and again, I was really hoping, because I know he was available. I was really hoping that they could swing a deal for Aaron Holiday from Washington. I really thought that could have been a really good play for them as a backup point guard. So we need a backup ball handler. We absolutely do. We need a backup Matt, what other platforms are you on? Matt, here's the rundown. So number one, follow us right here, Heat Ratio Sports. Okay, that's number one. Hit the smash button, right? Hit the subscription button. Follow us on Heat Ratio Sports on all social formats. If you want to see my content beyond Heat Ratio Sports, you can see me at Win Daily Sports every single day, Monday through Friday, for the DFS pre-lock show on Win Daily Sports. You can also find me every Sunday night on Sirius Satellite Radio on the Fantasy Sports Channel, XM number 87. We do call-ins. We do it all. 9 to 11 will be on Sirius, not this week because it's Super Bowl, but starting back up the following week. So that's all the platforms that you can get with me at. And again, tremendous content. We got 7-8 shows consistently on Heat Ratio Sports, and we got a new wrestling show coming that's really, really fire if you're a wrestling fan. So I can't wait for that from my man Matty Daddy, the wrestling Matt. So Adam says, do you think we would have won the title last year if we had Harden? That's tough, man, because, Milwaukee was on a mission. We absolutely would have not lost to Atlanta, right? I think we could all agree with that. Jay, what's up, Jay? Checking out Sports Kill Radio, another show you can see here at Heat Ratio Sports Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Jay says at 10 a.m. Jay says buyout market. Gordon Dragic. I would take Gordon Dragic. Absolutely. Something like that we need. Vinny says people don't understand when you have Harden and Embiid, building the rest of the roster is much easier. Vinny, yes, preach, Vinny. Preach. Absolutely. This is a destination that people want to come to. This is a destination that you can easily build now, right? You see the pieces. You have the inside-outside game. You have two guys that can create their own shot. You have a guy that can isolate off the ball, right? This is huge. Absolutely huge. Vinny says the half-court offense in the playoffs. This guy, yes. And Vinny, that is a major point. Because how many times did we get extremely frustrated watching the Sixers take the shot clock down, to 4 or 5 seconds at the top of the perimeter and not understand where to get their own shot from because they didn't have any shot makers. They had no half-court offense. They had nobody to beat anybody off the ball besides Joel Embiid. This helps them so much. Yes, vet point guard, backup center, and 3D wing, and a shooter. That's our shopping list before. Listen, Al is right. You've seen the Lakers do it, right? When they got Anthony Davis. You see, you can get through the buyout market and absolutely help a contending team. Listen, you're only going to go 8 deep max in the playoffs, right? Technically, you're going to go 6 to 7 deep, maybe 8 deep. So you need a couple players. And honestly, Al, I want to hear your thoughts. I really think Millsap can be one of those guys. I think Millsap, honestly can give you 7 to 10 minutes of some solid down low play and a nice 12-foot game. I do. I really do. I think he's no slouch. I know he's way past his prime, but he's no slouch. I really think that I'm getting that. Matt checking in says, I'm seeing that. Thank you. Oh, Matt Z. Oh, he's on Facebook. Oh, my man. That's right. What's up, Matt? How you doing, man? Thanks for hitting that subscription button and follow us on Facebook. We really appreciate it. No more Ben Wall. Dan, absolutely. No more Ben. That was embarrassing, right? That's what got me about this whole thing. It was absolutely embarrassing. Think about that. You go back and you watch that Atlanta game and see exactly what they did. Exactly what they did. You absolutely see what the Wizards did with the hack of Ben, how embarrassing that was. I mean, you would think as a player you'd want to get better, that you wouldn't want that to happen to you, but you do it anyway, it's so sad. It's so sad. So I'm so done, and I'm so glad to be over that, and I cannot wait for James Harden. Yo, Trevor, Mr. Odyssey man, Mr. Carolina man, what's going on? Mr. Florida man, I love it. Trevor is all over 100%, my man. Checking in, Trev. I know you had to like this trade, man. I know you had to like this trade. And listen, guys, we're going to get people. Everybody just relax. It's okay, right? It's okay. The fact of the matter is, I'm not out of energy yet, but I was so excited. I just went full bore. Just went full bore because this hype has been leading up for at least the past 2 weeks. When there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's smoke, there's fire. That's why we call ourselves Heat Ratio Sports, right? Where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm excited for Harden like I was when we got Harper right up there. Listen to Adam. Adam's going deep here. We're excited just like when we got Bryce Harper, MVP Bryce Harper. Listen, it has that kind of feel to it, Adam. It really does. It has that kind of feel. Obviously, obviously difference in ages and kind of different scenario, but definitely has that vibe, right? It definitely and here's what I will say, because I heard somebody talk about how, remember when the Philadelphia 76ers back, in 2002, 3, 4, they were always trying to find that other piece to go AI, right? They were always trying to find another piece, trying to bring guys that were past their prime in, like Chris Webber and things of that nature. This is not this. Okay, stop comparing James Harden to this over the hill. Listen, he's had multiple 33 and 10 and 11 games this year. Ben Simmons didn't want to play here. James Harden didn't want to play anymore in Brooklyn. Simple as that. James Harden is not going to be 40 points a game, but James Harden right now is going to give you 25. He's going to give you 8. He's going to give you 9, right? And there's going to be times where he could pick it up a notch and give you 35. This is the absolute perfect piece, in my opinion, for the Philadelphia 76ers to be able to go and shoot their shot this year for an NBA championship. The East is wide open. The NBA is wide open, in my opinion. Even though I really like what's going on over there in the West with teams like the Phoenix Suns look really strong. But again, you see the Sixers were able to hang with the Phoenix Suns until they got sloppy with the substitutions, and they had all the pressure at the end of the game on Joel Embiid, and knowing that he had to do everything on his own. Now that doesn't have to happen. Dan says maybe this forces Isaiah Joe to grow quick, at least until buy-up options arrive. Listen, here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing about Isaiah Joe. There was whispers that they liked Brooklyn wanted Isaiah Joe. Listen, and I've been on the Isaiah Joe can ball. He can shoot. And again, this brings us back to what everybody was saying earlier in this show, that right in the beginning, we talked about how much Al said it right away that it's going to open up all the shooters. It's going to open up the perimeter game because of the ISO that's going to happen consistently with James Harden. So these players are going to be able to get open looks. Listen, you have Joe down low on the box and you have an isolation play that with James Harden. They're going to double team somebody. It's going to leave somebody wide open. Somebody's going to be wide open, whether it be Danny Green, whether it be Isaiah Joe, whether it be Furkan Korkmaz. Those players are going to be wide open. And maybe we get a guy like Eric Gordon, right? Maybe we get one of those guys. But at the end of the day, there's going to be open shots to make. And I really, really think that we're going to be such a better team like that. Matt, what's up? Matt says Maxey is on his way. Listen, Matt, you're going to learn that as you follow us here, we're big Tyrese Maxey fans. I, for one, have talked about the development of this kid. I have a season ticket plan for the Philadelphia 76ers, and I've watched him grow. I watched him learn from one of the best in the game in Sam Cassell. I watched him learn from Doc. He takes criticism. He takes training. He takes coaching. This kid is legit. There's a reason why that no way in hell Daryl Morey was going to let this kid go. Number one, he comes from an illustrious program, right? Whenever you come from an illustrious program, we brought this up on Heat Ratio Live at Steam Pub, follow at Steam Pub of all sorts of formats. That is our home, our remote home on Tuesday nights. And by the way, while everybody's watching Steam Pub in beautiful Bucks County, sounds like on March the 13th, or March the 15th, granted, we may have a nice March Madness special going on for Heat Ratio Live that Tuesday night. So make sure you get out this Steam Pub that night. Come see us, stop by. We're going to have giveaways. We have contests, drink specials, all talking about leading up for the bracket madness that's going to ensue on that Thursday. So keep that posted. Keep that locked. We got all kinds of stuff going on right here. Mike checking in Joe to replace. I don't know, Mike. I don't know if Isaiah Joe can replace Steph Curry or Seth Curry, honestly, but he can at least give you more shots and more open looks and the ability to at least cut into some of that as well. If Harden is doing the right things, he should have at least 12 to 15 assists a game. If he doesn't, we're not moving the ball enough. Great point, Al. Listen, James Harden could possibly be a triple-double machine right here. Yo, Pat, checking in. We said we all need to get tickets to the game when we play them and all go with baby crying audio on our phones and play all game long when Simmons gets the ball. Simmons said he couldn't get along with Embiid, maybe because Ben took over court time to practice. Listen, Pat, I love it. It's March 10th. Brooklyn comes to town. And I am so curious to see if Ben Simmons has the audacity to show up. And if he does, we are going to absolutely destroy him. And rightfully so. He deserves every minute of that criticism. 100%. Mike says his score or not, it's about his mentality. Listen, I completely agree, man. The mental part of the basketball is always is huge. Mike says, can't wait to rewatch this guy here. Listen, man, I started off on fire, Mike. As always, you're one of those guys always checking us out. We really appreciate it. I'll bet $300 a ticket. It's going to be huge, man. It's going to be a big ticket. I can guarantee you that. Especially if they have all their horses back. But again, they're with all these vaccine mandates in Brooklyn right now, in New York. I mean, these guys can't even play. So it's going to be really curious to see how this all ensues for Brooklyn. If you want to improve and learn, it's huge. Absolutely. Vinny says, how about Ben suiting up for Brooklyn right away? What a fraud. You know what, Ben? I mean, you know what, Vin? You're absolutely right. We all knew he was a fraud, right? And let's get serious for a minute. We've just come through, and we're still in it, okay? We've just come through a major point in American civilization where we've dealt with this pandemic, something that we haven't dealt with for 100 years, right? Lots of people losing jobs, lots of people losing family members, unfortunately, employment lost, death, lives lost, over 6 million people gone, right? So there was a lot of mental instability in this world, a lot of people fighting a lot of demons. And the audacity and the balls of Ben Simmons to come out and claim that mentally he's not all there, that he's going through some stuff, to make a mockery of the entire world that's going through mental health issues that we all have battled, that we all went through over this past 2 years. I mean, that's why I can't stand this guy. That's why he's a fraud. And I'll consistently say he's a fraud. Because listen, here's the thing, Ben, just own up. Just own up. Listen, James Harden, okay, you may not like James Harden, but at least he went about it and he didn't want to come out. He went through the proper channels to say he didn't want to play. He didn't say because he couldn't hack it. He didn't say because he was dealing with mental health issues just so he could get paid, right? He didn't think of any of that. What he did was he sat back, he went through the proper channels in order to get it done. Ben Simmons, again, coward way out, as always, will always be a coward in my opinion. 100%. Ethan, what's up, Ethan? Checking in, says people are overlooking Millsap, also going with Harden. Ethan, I said this earlier, and again, Ethan, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do that right here. Heat Ratio Sports, smash the like button. Let's get these likes up. Let's get the subscribers up. Ethan, I said this earlier. People are absolutely overlooking the fact that at the end of the day, Paul Millsap is not a throw-in in this deal. If you use him correctly, right? If you use him correctly, he absolutely will be a good piece going forward. Now, we don't know what the buyout market's going to be. He may be a casualty based on who's available. There could be some big names available at the buyout market, right? So you have to be careful of that. But right now, Paul Millsap can help this team. Paul Millsap can absolutely help this team. Pat says, be a man, not an excuse. Listen, Pat, I 100% agree with you. 100%. And that's why I was all out on Ben Simmons. 100%. I mean, listen, guys, you knew right away that the statement was going to come out that all of a sudden now he can play. He's good. He's ready to go. You all knew. Right. Millsap was terrific years ago. Listen, Millsap had a tremendous career. He played very well for the Nuggets. He was a really good player down low. He was a good player for the Hawks down low. Now spot play required. Absolutely. Like I said, here's the thing. You have to win these NBA championships with veterans playing consistent minutes in segments, right? And what I mean by that is Danny Green needs to play a consistent 12 minutes. Paul Millsap needs to play a consistent 7 to 10 minutes. That could be 4 minutes in the first half, 4 minutes in the third quarter, right? But again, if you get out of those 10 consistent minutes, if that allows Joel Embiid to rest, if that allows James Harden to rest, if that allows Tobias Harris to rest, and you can basically get maybe 10 to 12 points in those two segments, it's a no-brainer. It's a win-win. So that's exactly what we have to do. Right now was the time to do this. Right now was the time. And if it wasn't Daryl Morey here, I sadly feel this deal would never, ever happen. That's the one thing I completely agree. Just hold the line during. Yeah, exactly, Mike. 100%. I mean, you have to be smart with these players, and you have to understand exactly where they're coming from and exactly how much they can give you at this stage of their career. That's what made Robert Horry so great. Big Shot Bob was so great because he was utilized in so many great spots, right? You always have to think about that. He was used in so many great spots. That's why guys like Ilyasova were such great players in playoff time when they were used the right way and not overexposed, right? Andre Iguodala is a perfect example. Okay, he couldn't do much here when they gave him that contract because he was forced to be somewhere he wasn't. He was forced to be a player that he couldn't be. And then going being that sixth man, that seventh man for the Golden State Warriors, being able to be a mentor to some of the younger guys, being able to give you that veteran defensive leadership, right? The unselfishness, It's huge. So you can absolutely get players like this. And Mike, you're absolutely right. As long as they accept those roles. Pat says NBA just, you know, they just said Simmons is on a level of Draymond Green. And and Pat, you know what's funny? They're saying that because Draymond Green has no shot, right? That's what they're saying. They're saying Draymond Green has no shot, but Ben Simmons is not Draymond Green. Ben Simmons, you got to have some balls to beat Draymond Green, right? You got to have some cojones to beat Draymond Green. And Ben's got none of them. Ben's got none of them. So he can't beat Draymond Green in my book. Mike says that's why I thought Andre brought this year with the yeah, exactly. Andre did. You're right. Andre Drummond brought that, and we're gonna miss Andre Drummond. We are. I think he is a far cry from in a good way, a far cry in a good way from Dwight Howard, obviously, right? He was a really, really good yes. You know what, Adam? Thank you for that. Dave Yeager. He was on the court 2 games ago, finally coming back, fought neck cancer. They got it early. He's in remission. Great guy. Met him a couple times as well. Great job to be back on the bench for the Sixers. They can't believe he's even back. So kudos to him and Adam. Thanks for bringing it up. I completely forgot about that. Andre Iguodala. Listen, man, Andre was the man. I can't wait for Hackabend in the playoffs. Listen, here's what I would love. How about this, Vinny? How about if 100% we can get a Brooklyn-Philadelphia series and we can just hack the crap out of Ben? Oh, it would be great. 100%. Welcome back. Keep going. Mike, you know me, man. I'm always going somewhere, right? As always. You follow me. You've been following me for years. I'm always going to be somewhere. But listen, boys, I'm going to get out of here. He's going to come out 80% on Hackett Ben, 100%. Listen, I wouldn't come here to do 15, 20. You guys helped me stay to 40. I mean, tremendous show. Don't forget the final judgment here with Tony Cutillo. I will be here probably going to try to do this about 2 times a week. The way this show is going to be is tonight was a reaction show. It was a late reaction. So I had some guests lined up. I tried to line some guests up tonight. Renee Washington, Vince Quinn, but we got too late. It was late in the game, kind of my fault. I got it together too late. But again, they're the kind of guests we're going to get here. We'll get Mosher back. We'll get Farzetta back. Hear what their plans are. Hear what their thoughts are. But I want to open you guys up to more than just the guys that you always hear. While I respect a lot of guys, there's a ton of people, in other markets and in this space that are tremendous sports minds that I want to bring to you guys, right? So that's what this show is going to be about, bringing a different flavor. It's going to bring the Jigsaw passion with a different kind of an intellect on this show. So I definitely want to do that. I'm going to get more of that as well. So you're going to see that. Half Court Heat will be back as always. Like I said, we're going to premiere on the first game of James Harden for a post-game reaction. Should be pretty fun as well. We'll recap last year and we'll do this year. Again, Heat Ratio, Sports Heat Ratio live every Tuesday night from the beautiful Steam Pub in Bucks County. Follow at Steam Pub on all social formats. Again, sponsored by our good friends at Prime Roofing, www.primeroofingpa.com. Make sure you get at them today. They can help you rescue your roof the right way. And again, Win Daily Sports. If you guys are into sports betting, if you guys are into fantasy sports, give us a follow at Win Daily Sports. You can catch the NBA DFS pre-lock show every single night at Win Daily Sports with me, Adam, myself, and Ghost doing some crazy stuff tonight. We had some really good things going again. And then, listen, don't forget about Saturday's Fantasy Firebox. So you'll see guys like John Coker, like Dan Green. You'll see other guys on that as well, talking some fantasy stuff. And most importantly, Sunday nights, keep it locked, 9 to 11. You can hear me on Sirius Satellite Radio on the Fantasy Sports Channel, Channel 87, talking about big things when it comes to fantasy. So, as always, Matt, thanks again for catching on and subscribing. We really appreciate it. Everybody else in the comments, I really appreciate it. Everybody have a safe and healthy evening. Let's get this championship. It's going to get fun. It's going to get fired up. If anybody's at the Wells Fargo Center tomorrow night, I will be there. Go check out section 109, row 25. That's where my seats are. I will be there right across from the Sixers bench. So come say hi. Let's grab a beer, whatever. Let's grab a crab fry, whatever you want to do. I'd love to mix it up with everybody. So as always, Heat Ratio Sports, subscribe, stay safe, stay healthy. Final Judgment. Tony Cutillo, I'm out.